Presley, Jeff, Brian, Braden, yeah. Five fellas spitting fire, ain't no pretend. Sports talk heating up, the weekend's here. Crack a cold one, let's make it clear. Tailgate talk, where legends are born. From the gridiron to the court, no matter the sport. Debating and laughing under the sun. Victory sweet when the day is done. Presley predicts a slam dunk. Derek ain't buying. Jeff's got stats. Brian's high-fiving. Braden breaks down the plays piece by piece. Friendly fire, but we all find tailgate talk, where legends are born. From the gridiron to the court, no matter the sport. Debating and laughing under the sun. Victory sweet when the day is done.
You just the world, I guess. I mean, y'all see it wrong. Y'all see it wrong.
From college rivalries to the pros, every game matters, everybody knows. Passion burns bright, it's in our soul. Tailgate talk, let the good times railgate talk, where legends are born. From the gridiron to the court, no matter the sport. Debating and laughing under the sun. Victory sweet when the day is done. So gather round, friends, let the banter fly. Tailgate talk, reach for the sky. Cheers to the winners and the good game played. Another week conquered, another memory made.
Yeah, they got me a TikTok.
Good Thursday evening again to everyone out there watching us, and welcome to another edition of Tailgate Talk. We are so glad you chose to tune in with us here today. Please hit that like, or tonight, whatever. Please hit that like button down there, and don't forget, please go to YouTube. Find our Tailgate Talk Nebraska YouTube
Channel.
Yeah. And subscribe, please. We are trying to get it so we can go live on YouTube as well. With us tonight, we've got Presley Parker down here on the end, Braden Long over here.
Yes.
Brian Denton along with us, Jeff Green hosting us here in the Casa de Green, and I'm Derek Long. I'll try to take you through tonight. We have got a lot to talk about tonight, gentlemen. We've got Ohio State Notre Dame national championship game that just happened a few nights ago. We've got conference championship weekend in 3 days.
And we're going to talk a little bit about the mess that got us here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. For sure.
The mess.
Well, you know, those games were horrible. Horrible.
So anyway,
Here we go.
let's start off and let's take you back to Georgia. Monday night, the national championship game. It was the Ohio State Buckeyes taking on Touchdown Jesus and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And gentlemen, that game got away from Notre Dame quick. After their first, 18-play, 75-yard drive, they looked good in that drive. After that,
they always say in football, though, that first drive is scripted.
Mm-hmm.
They practice those exact plays, that whole drive, over and over and over. So a lot of
Notre Dame got out of their script. That was 18 plays long.
Yeah. So they punched it in, but
they fought for every yard.
Underdogs with teams that aren't supposed to win, they might punch it in that first drive, and then it's just bad. But they fought their way back into it.
They did. They cut it to within one score late in the game thanks to a fumble by Abeka, which the announcers were just talking about. Ohio State doesn't turn the ball over, doesn't fumble the ball. And what happens very next play, he fumbles it, puts it on the ground.
There was a sideline interview, too, with Marcus.
They did.
And he said, we really need a turnover. Mm-hmm. And then 2 plays later.
Yeah.
Right.
Got it. Thanks, Touchdown Jesus.
Yes.
You know,
Touchdown Jesus.
you almost feel like Ohio State took the foot off the gas, though, at halftime. Because they weren't shooting deep. They were eating clock, just moving the sticks. Where if they would have came out at halftime like they did at the beginning of the game, marched down there and scored a touchdown right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Well, Paul Feinbaum, unpopular in the room besides me probably, but he said it best kind of. It kind of just seemed like Ohio State was toying with them.
Yeah.
And then when they needed that big play, they went ahead and did it.
Yep.
Got it done.
Notre Dame dug their grave too.
Ohio State
They-
never
they-
seemed
they
worried
never
in
got
that
out of
game.
it.
No.
And I will say this: all year I was talking. I didn't think Will Howard was a quarterback to lead them, but that throw he made to Jeremiah late in that game on 4th down, I believe,
It was
too.
4th
wasn't
down.
it?
Yep.
I mean, it was just absolute. Notre Dame's coming on a 0 blitz, so you got one-on-one coverage against probably one of the top wide receivers in the nation, even though he is a freshman. And Will Howard put that ball right
To
there.
me, that play seemed predictable.
Yeah, I know.
Because they rushed like they thought they were going to run it,
Mhm.
burn a timeout, no big deal. It seemed like they're throwing the ball over your head here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
They let him do it.
other moments that he had, he used his legs to move the sticks
He did.
to keep drives alive in that first quarter, first half. I mean, Howard showed that he deserved to be where he was at.
Wasn't good enough to start at K-State, but he's good enough to take Ohio State to a national title.
Yeah.
I love it.
There's a thing I saw that there was a poll before the Ohio State season of the Ohio State fans, and they said, "What's more important to you, beating Michigan or winning the national championship?" And it was like 57% beat Michigan, 41 or 42% win the national championship.
They got
So-
plenty of those.
Yeah.
They need to beat Michigan. They're down in that.
Yeah.
So what does everybody think? What was everybody's thoughts of the first year of the college football playoff for the 12 teams? I thought overall they probably got, like I said, the teams right. It's just I don't know about seeding, but I think this is a good stepping stone forward.
I think it
for
worked
college
itself
football.
out
It
in
worked.
the end.
Mm-hmm.
Because we even go back to, like we said at the beginning of the college football playoff, they should reseed how like the NFL does. But in that instance too, Ohio State's still playing Oregon because they're still the lowest
Yeah.
seed. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
think
how the cards got turned. It's just how they got turned.
It worked itself out.
It worked itself out.
I think a lot of people would be very overcritical of it. This was the
Yeah.
best postseason
Yeah.
we have ever had in college football.
100%.
Well,
And
I
at
agree.
the end, we have a real national championship.
Yeah.
We don't have a bunch of people that got put into committee, putting 2 people up there or even 4 and saying these guys decided. Neither of these teams would have been in a 4.
No, neither of these teams would have been in, and we would have never had a 2-lost national title.
Notre Dame may have gotten in a 4-team.
Maybe.
Just from the
Maybe.
one loss.
But
Maybe
but they were that was a bubble. That was a
Right.
bubble thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, who was that number 4 team? You know, was it Penn State? Was it Notre Dame? You know, who did you put in that 4 spot?
Yeah.
But, you
What
know,
do you think of the teams that were there, though?
the great news is we didn't have to deal with that because we had 12. And Ohio State, people are saying that needs an asterisk next to asterisk my ass. They went through Tennessee, they went through Oregon, they went through Texas, and then on a national, and then all eyes on you, beat the Leprechauns. I mean, that's a run that
They had the toughest
Their
road.
average score.
Absolutely.
They had the toughest road to get to
17
the
and a half.
championship.
They definitely earned it.
yeah,
Like,
they
they
definitely earned it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's the beauty of this college football playoff is the team that wins will earn it. One way or the other, they're going to earn
now they're saying it diminishes games like the Ohio State-Michigan
No, it
game
don't.
in the season.
I don't
It
think so.
doesn't because
They still care about it.
they still
obviously.
cared about it.
There's some people.
I mean,
that
there
still
were there
want-
were
Now-
fights about it.
They
You
still
could
want
see
Ryan
after the
Day.
game.
Yeah, Ryan Day did not
They're still
solidify his job by doing this.
Now, them saying that is stupid because the very relevant possibility is that them 2 teams could be deciding who goes to the playoffs.
Absolutely.
It
And,
has
and
before.
that,
It has before, and it still will. You know, because Michigan's
Going
not going to be
forward.
down forever, and they came up faster than I thought they would. this
no
year.
one wanted to play Michigan at the end of the year,
Well, I will say
especially Ohio
congratulations.
State.
Congratulations, head coach Chip Kelly, leading his Buckeyes
Oh my
to
God!
a national title.
Give credit to Day. He hired Chip.
Well, I know, but
Yeah,
Urban-
but what?
Urban Meyer
was-
probably hired Chip and
yeah.
told
Chip
Ryan
Kelly,
Day he was coming.
it was
Ryan
Chip
Day
Kelly's
saved himself
offense.
a few years. I mean, Ryan finally did.
It's kind of,
Let's say Ohio State doesn't go all the way. Is Ryan Day still there next year?
No.
I mean,
Now wait a minute. Are we talking Tennessee beating them?
They lose to Tennessee.
they lose to Tennessee.
If they lose to Tennessee, they're
He's,
done.
he's done.
Yeah, Ryan probably out.
After that Michigan loss, he was on the hot seat.
let's say Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas beats them. He's still in.
Yeah, Texas was the only team with a fighting chance.
Here's my thing.
Well, they're the only ones that put up a fight.
Yeah.
Here's my thing.
On paper, they probably shouldn't have because they were the only team that hadn't played anybody all year long. They were just like Indiana. They were just like Tennessee. The teams they played that were big, they lost to.
Yeah.
But they were in the playoffs anyway. But as it turns out, they were Ohio State's toughest match.
Yeah, I mean, we were 1 yard away from tying the
You
ball
were
game.
one play away. And that play,
was bad.
I mean, you guys got second and goal, and they went straight backwards. The world fell off. I mean, it was like a cat pushing you around backwards, trying to find the edge.
But
The score of that game didn't show that.
let me throw this out at you. Should Texas have been there, Arizona State had them beat the week before.
Arizona had them on the ropes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh my God, they had to play.
Yeah, I was
I mean,
fine with that.
they
I
had
wanted to
the
lose. I was
chance.
texting all
Yeah.
you guys. I was like, we don't deserve to play. We're going to get
Yeah.
rolled. But
But then on the other
fine.
hand, Arizona State didn't make it happen.
Yeah.
They had their play
Yeah.
that would have won the game.
And they probably don't put up a good as fight as Texas did against
So-
Ohio State.
No.
No,
you
Ohio
all
State
watched,
rolls.
you all
Arizona
watched
State.
the Oregon State or Ohio State Michigan game, correct?
Yeah.
At the end of the game, Michigan plants the
I
flag.
watched most of it. Yeah.
Michigan plants the flag in the middle of the O on the
Yeah.
50-yard
Yep.
line, right?
Yep.
What does Ryan Day do? He stands there and just looks around. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so now the other night he wins a national title. What does he do? He calls out 152-year-old Lou Holtz after the game's over.
Yeah.
Because Lou was up there with his Stephen Hawking computer typing out about Ohio State earlier in the week. And now Dave's calling him out. I mean, to me, guys,
That's a
there.
disrespect.
Lou Holtz is a legend in
legend.
college
He's a
football.
legend.
The
Absolutely.
last coach that coached Notre Dame to a national
Yes.
Well, and he called your team out for being weak.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you got a vendetta against him that you got to
Right.
prove it wrong. Come on, man.
And that was over a year ago, I think he did.
Yeah, that was last
too.
year.
Last
All I'm
Last
saying
season.
is
Last year,
Lou
regular
Holtz is a college football icon.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Ryan Day needs to know his place.
Yes.
And you show respect to those who paved the way.
It'd be no
Absolutely
different than
paved
like
the way.
Matt Rule calling out Nick Saban. It'd be like
That's
pump the brakes.
yeah, whoa, dude.
Or it'd be like Matt Rule. It'd be like Matt Rule calling out Tom Osborne.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that wouldn't fly.
That would not fly.
And
Absolutely.
you know, there are certain coaches: Tom Osborne, Barry Switzer, Nick Saban, Lou Holtz, some of those guys. Prime. Those are the guys
Shut your mouth, Bobby Bowden,
Jim Harbaugh.
you don't
Jimmy Johnson.
you don't
I
call
saw the
those
Bane
guys
shirts pop
out.
up.
You don't call those guys out. And you know, for him to
You
stand
call out
there-
Jim Harbaugh.
Okay, but I'm talking the legend.
You call out Deion Sanders. Why would those aren't legends?
I know. I was just trying to get you going.
Oh my God.
But anyway, he stands there and watches Michigan. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't grab his players. Doesn't pull them off. Doesn't try to get in the middle and push everybody back to the locker room. Just stands there with a dazed and confused look. But then he'll call out 150-year-old Lou Holtz.
And Ohio State posted the flag at the end of the national championship.
Yeah.
I know that wasn't Notre Dame's field. It was a
still.
neutral field. But that's obviously a thing. And coaches think it's okay because they allow their players to do it.
Right.
So you shouldn't have such bad reactions to when it happens.
Yep. But
Speaking of calling people out, though, did you see Matt Rule call out Paul Finbaum today?
I did not see that today.
That's what I sent it in the group chat. He made at the beginning of the year, Matt Rule said the Big Ten will be the best conference in here. No offense to SEC, blah, blah. And that's when Paul said, stay in your lane, get to a bowl
Oh,
game.
I do remember that.
So he had someone make a post, and it just shits on Paul Finbaum the whole time. And it was the best video. I probably watched it 20 times.
Well, Paul Finball's an idiot.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's
that
wrong.
guy. That,
Yeah.
I mean, not to bring derogatory terms to this, but if there's a cocksucker, there is. He is an SEC cocksucker. I mean, he don't
You gotta
know.
admit,
He
though.
don't know no difference.
He's doing his job.
Is he?
He's employed by the SEC.
Ah.
ESPN.
Yeah, he is. He
And,
is
his-
employed by them.
and I was shocked when they asked him. He was just honest. He didn't try to turn it around or do anything. They said, "Does the Big Ten own college football?" And he said, "Right now, yes."
Well,
Won
it's
two
two
in a
straight.
row.
It's 2 in a row.
And if I was him, I would have been like, "Well, the SEC's won 6 in a row before. We won 4 in a row before." But he didn't. He said, "Right now, no. I'd be stupid to answer that any other way than yes. The Big Ten right now.
The beautiful thing is,
Yeah.
what this is showing is parity is coming.
Yes.
There, you don't have a lockdown on a 5-star quarterback just because you're Alabama or you're Ohio State.
No.
Now, if you got money behind you and a good fan base and you're sending players to pro, there's no reason that a number 1 recruit won't look at you.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't need an Alabama label anymore.
It brings more parity, but Nick Saban also came out because he might be the new commissioner of the NIL and
I heard that.
And so he came out and said they got to stop with the just bouncing around to schools.
Well,
And he's thinking if you're getting paid money, you need to sign a contract.
Yes.
You'll be at that school for 3 years if you want this.
and those contracts need to involve the bowls.
Yes.
Yes.
You can't not play and get paid.
Yeah.
Well, just like you used to have to sit out a year when you transferred.
And I actually
Yeah.
Where did that go?
Well,
You
there's
know?
COVID.
Yeah, I know. But
That's when it all
I
disappeared.
understand that,
And
but
that's
that's
when
what
the
they need to
transfer portal got fucking weird.
Ohio
Is
State
during
fans blame
COVID.
COVID on them not beating Michigan because they haven't beat them since COVID.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they're still sick. I don't know.
The players
So,
got a little trouble.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a look into the future. Who is your pick next year? National title. What 2 teams are you looking at being there?
My 2 teams, I go with Vegas. Vegas had it right this year. They had Ohio State and Georgia the beginning of this year as the top 2 title favorites. Next year they have Texas and Ohio State. Both of those teams are returning a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on which,
Texas is
Bookie.
losing a lot though.
they're losing a lot, but they're replacing it with
Yeah.
really good talent.
Braden?
So probably Texas and Ohio State, I think.
I'm gonna go Texas, Nebraska.
I love the homerism. Love the
I have to bring the
homerism.
homerism into it.
We got it. Hold on.
Oh, here's the.
Homer pick.
Someone's gotta have faith, and I'm gonna be the one to have faith.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just disagree who we're going to be playing.
That's fine.
I think Nebraska's going to be playing Georgia
In the Pinstripe Bowl? Or?
in the national championship. See where we're at.
Brian, what's your pick?
At this point, I have no idea.
It's hard to pick, ain't
it's
it?
so hard because the transfer portal, all this stuff that goes down.
And those lines are going to move. When those transfer kids all
Oh, yeah, once
I
everything
know.
settles in.
who knows?
Yep.
Who knows where they'll be.
I don't know. I think one of the teams out of the Big Ten, probably Ohio State, is going to represent, and then I would say somebody out of SEC more than likely. But I would say Georgia's probably got to be up there. They're going to be fine.
Georgia's going to be coming back with an attitude next year.
Yeah, they are.
Georgia's not going to be happy with how that's all fell out.
You
I
know
think
what's-
Georgia probably pulls one out next year. I think the run for the Big Ten goes away next year.
You didn't want the button clicked on you. That's why you didn't say Oregon, huh?
No, I just don't think they will. I just don't think they will.
I think Oregon and Georgia are kind of in the same boat.
Oregon loses
Yeah.
a lot.
They have a lot of talent. And they just lost their
They
leader.
lost a lot.
Oregon loses a lot.
That's
But
the thing about Oregon, though. They rely heavily on the transfer portal anymore. They, like we talked about, they don't develop.
yeah.
It depends on how good their transfer portal comes through.
I wasn't even so sure Carson Beck might not end up at Oregon when he first said, "I'm going to transfer." I was
Yeah.
like, here we go.
Same
Off
with,
to Oregon for 1 year, collect a bag, and
Well, same with Quinn, though. You never. I mean,
I
before
thought
he
Quinn
declared,
was
you
gonna
never
go
knew.
too.
You still don't know where Quinn's going, do
Quinn
we?
He
declared for
declared
the
for the
draft.
draft.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
yeah,
declared-
Which I
NFL,
think
that's right.
he's
He
going to
went to
make
NFL.
less money, but it was probably in his best interest because it's a pretty light quarterback draft.
Yeah.
Probably.
So he'll probably
He's gonna
be
go to the
fifth.
Giants.
He'll probably
God,
be,
I hope so.
Quinn will probably. Be
I hope that's how that goes.
Fifth or
I
sixth
hope we pick
quarterback
that
drafted.
big offensive tackle and pick number 3, and then come back with a defensive back, and then turn around and get Ewers in like the 3rd, 4th round.
All the mock drafts I'm seeing is saying Shador.
Yeah.
Every single one of
They're
them.
all
I'm
starting to
seeing.
go to Shador.
Yeah, every single
He
one.
already
Of them.
had cleats made.
God
Yeah,
damn
they
it!
already had a quiz man.
No one likes him.
Well,
I'd take
obviously,
him over Dak.
What do you think,
Giants.
Derek?
You know, for next year, I'm going to throw a dark horse out there in Miami.
Oh, they're gonna say Kansas.
Well, that's who they're playing. No. I got Miami. Carson Beck's going to Miami, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
That-
Yep.
I
Paul's girlfriend.
I think Miami wasn't a bad team this year. They had a tough loss at the end of the year against Syracuse, which kept them out of the ACC championship
They need
game.
a defense.
They do need a defense, but
The
we'll see. I'm
the
just throwing
ACC
dark
's-
horse out there because right now, hell, I don't. I
The
don't have a clue.
ACC's so freaking weak, though. Like it's
is.
extremely weak.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's about to get tougher. But
But
Belichick's there now.
Yep. At UNC.
He hasn't
Okay.
signed his contract.
What?
He has
They're-
not signed his
Oh,
contract.
he's there.
They're worried about flight risk with him already.
Yeah, he's got it's part of his contract. If he signs before a certain date, he gets paid more
Yeah.
because they're worried about him. Oh, I'm going to go to the NFL. There's an NFL job.
Yeah,
That's what they're
there's
worried
a
about.
lot of head
I
coaching
thought that,
jobs.
but
There's a couple that
yeah,
got
I was
filled.
gonna say
but-
there's already been some that got filled. That I
But
saw him
he
go.
has not signed his contract yet. He has not signed it.
Well, he needs to get under his ass to do that.
No, I've got Miami, and Tennessee in the championship.
Tennessee,
Tennessee will have a lot coming back.
They do.
they need defense too.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, it will be a 52-51 game in the championship game.
Jesus.
That's what all of Miami's games were.
No kidding.
Well,
Well-
ESPN would love that.
Yes, I know they would.
I mean, they were a little disappointed how the second half unfolded.
Mm-hmm.
They were hoping for a score fest between the two, and like we talked about, there wasn't so much defense. As we talked about it, Notre Dame was going to have a hard time moving the ball because they're not a pass proficient team,
No.
and yeah,
And they play man defense.
and they play man
Three of
defense.
the best wide receivers in the country. So
Yeah, it was
one
a,
of them could have played in the
the
NFL
fact they
at
kept it
17.
as close as they did was a miracle.
So did that kid from Alabama,
Yeah.
too, though.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Back to the playoff, though, one point I wanted to make on the playoff is I'm glad that you don't have to be perfect anymore
Right.
in college football. This is the only sport where you have to be absolutely perfect.
This
to
is how
have
it
a
should have been the
chance.
whole time.
It should have been the whole time,
This
absolutely.
is the only sport that you have to be
I know
absolutely
that's
perfect all
that's
year.
been my gripe with
And now you don't.
that's been my gripe with college football for the last.
Because you can
10
win
years.
you can win a wild card game at 8 and 9 in the NFL and still, I mean, you have your shot.
Yeah.
You won't make it probably, but you got
You
your
have a
You
shot.
can't say that though.
The Giants.
The Giants. The
Twice.
year the year we beat the undefeated Patriots.
They lost the last game of the year. They
We
barely made
snuck
it
in, yeah.
Yeah.
But, guys, you got to look at the evolution. Even in the pros, it used to be the AFC champ, the NFC champ. They'd have one playoff game.
Yep.
You'd have the East versus the West. Then you moved into, that was in the 60s. In the 70s, you'd have three conference champions and one wild card. And they threw another wild card in there. And now look where we're at. We've got 7 teams in
On
each
each side.
conference going to the playoffs. So it is an evolution thing. College football was just behind, but
Yeah.
you started off with it was voted on by the writers.
Terrible.
Then you went to 2 teams playing for the national championship, aka Texas USC.
Yeah.
Then you went to the 14 playoff. Now you've got the 12, and they're going to eventually go to that 16-team playoff. So they are moving in the right direction. I will give them credit on that. There are some things they need to tweak up in the college football game right now, NIL, transferring, and all that. But the playoff, and this is the first year for a 12-team playoff. So did they get it right? Maybe. Did they get it wrong? Maybe. You can't look at the fact of nitpicking every little thing because this was the first year of it.
No, I agree.
And it was the most exciting postseason
No,
yeah.
of college football ever.
And I love
Yeah,
that
It was
it
probably the
lasted
most
longer.
exciting regular season of college football because you
Well,
had
yeah,
no
because
idea what was going to
the
happen.
last 4 weeks mattered.
Yeah.
The last 4 weeks, the play in November usually didn't matter because we knew what the top. There was 6 teams that the November mattered.
Yep.
Now we had 20 teams that were still vying for spots. I mean, Alabama was. I mean, they were sucking it up trying to get in.
Yeah,
and
if they would have
if they had beat Oklahoma.
Oklahoma,
You know-
they would have been in. It's their own fault.
Absolutely.
I think even if they wouldn't have lost as bad as they did, they would have been.
Well,
Like,
they would have a stronger argument.
if it would have been
They
a
still shouldn't have got in.
no,
Yeah.
no, I agree with you. But if it would have been a 1-score game, they probably would have been in.
Yeah, or last second field goal by OU to win it.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe.
They probably would have been in.
No one can argue that
Yeah.
No.
because you might be right.
They
They
never-
didn't
yeah.
belong to be in if they got 3 losses, in my opinion.
But yeah, that blowout was just
Yeah, Oklahoma rocked
They
them.
had no reason to get in, especially after OU plays all their starters
Sure.
and loses to Navy.
Yeah.
That shows you how good both of those teams were.
Well, college football, we're done.
We're done.
All done.
2024 season is done. Ohio State again. Congratulations, head coach Chip Kelly.
Wow, Ryan Day.
State
Assistant
Buckeyes.
manager, Ryan Day.
Yes. And moving on, let's talk conference championship weekend is right around the corner in the NFL. One game away from the Super Bowl. Let's start off our first game on Sunday. We will go to Lincoln Financial Field, where the Philadelphia Eagles are not going to be playing the Detroit Lions. They're not going to be playing the Green Bay Packers. They're not even playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are playing the Washington Commanders.
Or the football
I
team.
mean, talk about the Cinderella story.
Yep.
I mean, everyone counts against them every week. We picked against them. We picked against them. We were wrong. We were wrong. We were wrong. We were wrong. Here we are again. Anyone going to pick Washington to win this game?
Yeah.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love you, my man, because I am too. Definitely.
Jaden Daniels. And here is part of the reason why. Let's flash back to last Sunday, right at Lincoln Financial Field. Saquon Barkley ran all over the Rams from Los Angeles, playing in a snowstorm. But what happened late in that game is what I am saying is going to be concerning for the Eagles going into this game, and that was Jalen Hurts with his knee injury. Nobody's reporting on it right now. Nobody's talking about it. But Jalen Hurts was not Jalen Hurts after that injury. Gets sacked on, 2 or 3 plays after he comes back out on the field, cuts it to a 1 point. I mean, the Rams were right there. The
Yeah.
Rams were right there in that game.
But let's talk about what happened over the regular season. Washington's 1-1
Yeah.
with y'all, and when they beat y'all, you had Saquon, you had your full team. You just got caught off guard.
No, we didn't. We didn't have Jalen.
He got hurt halfway
he
through the
played
game.
Kenny.
Yeah, he got hurt in the first quarter
Yeah.
of that game.
And
So
then they brought in Kenny White Picket Fence to finish that.
I'm pretty sure, that.
I'm just
Eagles were
saying,
winning and then he
this is why we have playoffs.
Yes.
Is because of these stories.
Exactly.
These people, and let's just fast forward and say they beat the Eagles. What a game that will be with one of these two.
Yeah.
I mean, can you really count them out?
no.
No.
I mean, you can't.
You can't count them out right now.
No, you can't.
Well, you definitely
mean,
can't count them out right
You
now.
can't count them out against any team left right now because
They're one of them.
they Dan Quinn has this team believing they can beat anybody right now.
Yep.
You know, we were talking about the Lions all year long, talking about the Lions and how good they were. Dan Campbell, great coach. Take nothing away from Dan Campbell. But Dan Quinn took that young Commanders team into the Lions'
Detroit.
den.
Yeah.
Into the Lions' den.
And
put
beat
a
the
thump
shit out of
down
them.
on Detroit.
Yeah, that was a woodshed beating that first half.
Yeah.
I mean, when they went to the locker room, Dan Campbell was doing everything he could just to get everybody back on the same page.
And the Lions are dealing with a lot of injuries.
Well, they have been all year,
On
though.
the defensive
But
side.
they've been that
Yeah.
way all year long.
But the Commanders, I mean, they played good too, but it's pretty easy to score when you start on their 30-yard line every play after a play.
Right.
Yeah.
Jared Goff,
All I'm saying,
bad.
Yeah.
Jared
does
Goff
the
looked
Commanders
good.
have the best defense? No. Do they have the best offense?
That's hard.
No.
That's hard.
Like Derek said several times, what would they be if
But-
they wouldn't have done the fire sale?
But
last
now,
year?
let's say this, though. Let's say this. Do they have one of the most efficient defenses? They get off on third downs.
No.
They play special teams really well. They got to be up there in the top in efficiency.
They give up points though.
Yeah.
One of the biggest
They're not
things
that-
about
And then ask the same question about their offense.
Video game numbers.
When it comes to efficiency, they get their third downs.
Yeah.
They're not third and long very often. They stay within their system, and when you need to play, the rookie comes through. I mean,
here's the thing I look at. One key acquisition in the offseason for that Commanders was Bobby Wagner.
Absolutely.
He has solidified that defense with that veteran presence. He is still capable of playing defense and does a great job, but he's brought that team together. That is a team that has nothing to lose right now going into this game.
They already won. This
They-
What is it?
Oh,
Six,
yeah.
6.5 points is what their
They have nothing to lose.
Eagles are
All
favored?
the pressure is on the Eagles because now they don't have to go to Detroit. They don't have to take on that juggernaut of the Lions. Saquon's had a great year.
The Eagles lucked out. That's what happened. The Eagles lucked out. They didn't get the number 1 seed, but turns out it's not going to matter.
Right.
They got the home field advantage.
Yep.
As an Eagles fan, I haven't heard anything on Jalen yet.
Yeah.
Cam's questionable too. That's what I saw today.
Who?
Cam Durgans, he's questionable with a back injury.
I think everybody's going to be healthy. I think
they're gonna play.
They're going to play.
Let's
They're not healthy.
Let's not throw that healthy word. We are 19 games into the season.
Yeah.
No one's healthy.
Going back into college, look at Jeremiah Love.
Yeah.
He
They're-
wasn't healthy.
no one's
He had
healthy.
He had a giant robotic knee brace on, and he still ran.
Yeah.
In the game that the Commanders beat the Eagles turned the ball over 5 times. You can't win that way. You just can't.
No.
You didn't have your starting quarterback. He went out in the first quarter, turned the ball over 5 times. That's not a winning recipe at all.
Yeah, and the fact is, they still had a chance to win the game.
Yeah, they still almost won the game.
Okay, but let me ask
But-
you this, Brian. Does some of Saquon's success this year, not only that offensive line, which is good, take nothing away, that Philadelphia Eagle offensive line is good, but how much of that success does he have because Jalen Hurts can run the ball?
That's a huge thing.
So
That's a
if
huge thing.
Hurts comes into this game hurt and can't run like he has been all year,
Yeah.
that whole defense, Bobby Wagner included, they're going to be focusing right on Saquon the whole time. You know, because you won't have that threat of Jalen pulling it out on an RPO and taking off himself or a read option. You won't have that threat. So now you take that away from him. Jalen Hurts is going to have to win with his arm.
Yeah.
Not saying he's
He can. It's just not his thing.
right, but it's not his
Definitely
thing.
not his thing.
No, and I think
He's
the
an
Eagles
RPO
rely
quarterback.
on
That's what he is.
Saquon.
He's a
even
running back
more
that can
than
throw the ball.
Jalen
He's an
Hurts.
RPO
Yeah.
master. He's
And
an
I think-
RPO master.
I think Jaden Daniels will outplay Jalen Hurts tenfold in this game, but they're not worried about.
They're
Jalen
not.
Hurts. They're
It's
worried
about
Barkley.
Saquon Barkley.
And this is why the Eagles are going to win. So in 6 seasons, Saquon had 10 games with 120 yards rushing or more.
At the Giants.
1 season, he's got 10.
At the Eagles.
That's
They
all
don't-
offensive line.
That's your whole. Yeah.
They are built for this season. Like, they are built with defense. Their defense is playing well. They run the ball well. Jalen Hurts, I think the most he's had for passing yards this season is what, 250, 260, somewhere
No,
in
and
there?
that's why I'm saying.
I don't think he's ever
think
broke 300 this year.
Jaden Daniels will outplay Hurts, but Hurts might not need to be the big.
All,
star.
they have to do, all the Eagles have to do is play clean. That's all they have to do.
When you look at Washington's,
That's literally all they have.
Washington's offense relies on Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not saying
I mean,
Washington's
I'm not-
going to go in and win. I'm
Everyone
just
thought
saying I
when-
think Jaden Daniels' stat line will be a lot more
Yeah.
impressive,
It has to be.
but he doesn't have
I mean,
Saquon behind him either.
yeah.
Well, I'll be rooting on the Washington Redskins this
We
weekend.
all know who
Football
you're
team.
going to be watching on.
Commanders,
Yeah.
commies, whatever you call them.
Commies.
Well, let's move on to the AFC. And before we get into this game,
Oh, in this
I
game.
gotta ask you guys one thing. If Kansas City would have beat Buffalo in the regular season,
Yeah.
would we be looking at this matchup right now?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because Kansas City would have played their starters in the last game of the year against Denver.
That's true.
Probably would have won that game, which would have sent the Cincinnati Bengals into the playoffs. Now the
No one
Bengals
wanted to
would have
see
went
that.
to Buffalo in that first round instead of Denver.
Burrow is like
And
Josh Allen's kryptonite.
and
So
the Bengals beat them there last year. Then, no, the Chiefs beat the Bills last year in Buffalo. It was the year before Cincinnati beat them. But I think that would have moved Buffalo to the 3 seed, Baltimore to the 2 seed.
Yeah.
Had that all happened that way.
Baltimore wasn't beating either of them.
Well,
Well,
Nah, this is where
one
we'd
dropped
be.
pass away. Well,
This is
and
where
a
we'd
fumble.
be.
Mark
How
Andrews.
bad do you gotta feel for Mark Andrews?
Oh my God.
I don't feel bad for him.
One
at
of
all.
the best tight ends in the business.
He wins
And
Oklahoma. Serves him right.
not a bad take on that.
Man.
Not a bad take on that, Presley.
Serves him right.
Andrews did not have the best game of his life. I will say
No.
that much.
But it came down to one play.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was.
Well, and he fumbled earlier in the game too.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
That was huge.
he dropped a touchdown to tie the game.
2-point conversion.
Yeah.
Or 2 point.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
got the touchdown. Everybody's cheering, and
Literally, all I had to do is catch the ball.
yeah.
And
It was in.
So
Like,
I
all it
was
was-
guilty. I didn't actually watch that. I was listening.
You know, I'm not a Lamar.
And I was like, oh, that sucks. I bet Lamar freaking
I'm not a Lamar
air
fan.
mailed it or something.
Yeah.
And
No, it
then
was
I
in the
watched
bread.
it.
It
and
was
I
in the
like,
bread basket.
oh. he
I'm not a
got
Lamar
caught.
fan.
In fact-
But when he said after the game, I'm sick of this shit.
Yeah.
I felt for him. I did.
Yeah.
It's like,
You have
I know, because you go back to a toe, one pass being dropped, this pass being dropped. You know, I know it's coming out of his hands on all these things, but it seems like someone lets him down every year.
They needed
Every
to
year.
utilize Derrick Henry more in that game.
Yeah, they did.
Than they didn't.
Yeah.
They could have all year.
Now,
Like I said, though, when we talked last week, the idea was to get out in front of them, make them play from behind, so that Derrick Henry, they didn't have to stop Derrick Henry. They stopped Derrick Henry by moving him out of the play calls because they were having to use the arm to catch up, playing catch-up ball.
Yeah, they had a
You
lot of
don't
second and
you
longs,
don't
third
run
and
the
longs.
ball when you're trying to catch up. And that took the ball out of Derrick Henry's hands. And that's exactly what happened.
but see, the thing is, with a running back like Derrick Henry, who can pop that one at any time, they went away from giving him the
They
ball.
did.
But yet, he could have popped a big one. He came close a couple times in that game to busting that big one.
But coaches
Oh,
on
yeah.
the sideline, watching the game, in the game, will fall into that trap
Oh, yeah.
every time. You take all your great running backs over time. And when the team is behind, they lose carries.
Yep.
And when you take you're based on a running offense, and you're taking the bat out of your best player's hands, and they took carries away from him, and
So-
they lost because of it.
So it was still a good game.
It was a great game.
Great
game.
football game. Great playoff game. And, the Rams-Eagles game. In the snow, in January.
still
playoff.
great
Loved
game.
it.
Watch it.
And it was coming down to crunch time, too. I mean, the Rams had a
Half was
chance.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
they just needed that stop, and then Saquon ran for 68 yards.
Oh, they had a chance at the end even after that, though.
Yeah.
They came back and
Yeah,
had a shot there.
Now let's talk about the debacle in Kansas City. I mean,
Jesus, here we go.
the Texans came in and they outplayed Kansas City. Outgained them by 100+ yards, no turnovers. If their kicker would have just did his job, that game was over. But no, the refs had to step in. The kicker went down, and
Whatever.
here we are.
I will say, the teams that outgain their opponent in playoff games are now 40-1.
Mhm.
There's one loss, and that was
That's right there.
Yep.
That was that game.
Now, as we talked last Sunday morning, and I looked up the stat on this because I wanted to see for myself. Opponents' penalty yards throughout this year. Guess who number 1 in the league was?
Buffalo.
not
Minnesota.
Kansas.
Kansas City was 17th in the lower half.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the lower half.
Okay.
Now,
Now we're going to come down to crunch time penalties. This is where this comes into. What crunch time
The
penalties?
Kansas
against
City
Houston?
fan is
What
bringing
crunch-
this out because it is the truth.
No,
It's
you were
about
the one that,
the
you're
crunch
the one that
time.
doesn't shut up about it.
That's because it's there every week.
When was there a crunch time penalty against Houston? Never.
Whoa! They
There
called the
was
pass
never.
interference on him right there. We were knocking it down in the end zone, and that would have been a touchdown. But no, here we go.
again, now you weren't here Sunday, Presley, but I'm going to ask
Offensive
you.
pass interference should never be called.
Patriots, when they were making their run through all those years with Belichick and Brady, is where this all started. Because did Brady have the magnifying glass, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, the refs are giving him every call out there." The tuck rule. Charles Woodson in the snow. Oh, he was coming forward, and it was a tuck, so it's not a fumble. Patriots keep the ball. They win the game.
It's kind of one of those things that you look at with the star players.
Yeah.
Those star players are going to get those calls.
Yep.
And Josh Allen's one of those star players.
I saw a few in that game.
I saw a meme that I didn't trust at first until I looked it up. I told these guys about it before you got here. Josh Allen has 80% more roughing the passer penalties than Mahomes does, and 80% less dropbacks than Mahomes.
Yep.
So they're throwing him for Josh Allen almost double
Yeah.
than they do for
But-
Kansas City. But the spotlight
Is on them. Because everybody wants them to lose.
because they're the new Patriots,
Right.
and that's where you get the refs. And
Yeah.
you can look at statistics, and
The Texans played a great game.
They did.
They did.
Yeah, they did. They played a great game.
But
The refs did not outcome that game.
They played
I
a great
will
game.
still
The
say
kicker
this.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
I will
The
still say
kicker
this.
ultimately was the problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was terrible.
Wyoming Fairbairn.
You know,
Terrible.
I mean, how did he even get on the plane to go home with the team?
He didn't. He walked.
Then he did.
You know, it's cold.
they don't have no legs.
But let's talk about this though. Still, one of the top defenses in the league.
Yes.
Yes.
They are still one of the top defenses in the league. They still have Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce.
Hollywood Brown.
The former Longhorn made one hell of a catch, Xavier Worthy,
did.
on a key drive.
No, yeah, he was a great pickup. Dallas actually had
And-
a chance to draft him, but decided to give their
I
pick
remember where
to
Washington.
Buffalo,
Yeah.
and then they gave their pick to Kansas City.
And the Chiefs
was-
also
it was
have,
good.
oh God, what's their quarterback's name? Mahomes. And anytime you have Patrick Mahomes on that field, you give yourself a chance to win. And I know where Jeff's coming from because you watch the game, but it's like we talked. You watch any game throughout the entire year,
There's bad calls everywhere.
there's bad calls everywhere. It's
Everywhere.
the officiating.
It's the
You know-
spotlight that they have.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's more.
If Kansas City was this team this
Kansas
year
City.
and squeaked in
What-
and had some upsets,
Well, they were a squeak-in team. They averaged what 25 points a game.
the best
how many
record in
losses?
the NFL.
Hold on, 25 points a game. Is that right?
Yeah.
And their defense pushed them through. And, you know, they had a toe that beat Baltimore early in the season. They had, you know, I mean, but if anyone thinks that this is not the best two teams left
Oh,
playing
yeah.
this weekend, the winner of this game most likely will win the Super Bowl.
Vegas said this team is the best team remaining.
Yeah.
Well, Vegas is wrong
They have the best
in
odds.
many, many ways.
Well, here's my thing. What does Vegas know about football? They host the Raiders.
Yeah.
They're home to the Raiders, Presley.
Yeah,
Come on,
well,
man.
they're not in the Super Bowl.
Jalen Hurts is not a Super Bowl quarterback.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
people.
but it
I mean,
doesn't
if
have
com-
to come
if
down
com-
to him no
if
more.
conferences were a thing, there's a lot of people who argue that this would be a Super Bowl.
Jeff,
What?
he's already been to a Super Bowl
Yeah, and lost.
and legitimately outplayed
No,
Mahomes in that Super
no,
Bowl.
he didn't.
Yes, he did. He literally outplayed him.
No,
And this is what's going to happen
This
this
is
weekend.
Jeff's worst nightmare comparing Patrick Mahomes.
And
to
this
Jalen
is what's
Hurts.
going to happen this weekend.
that's not a nightmare. You know, as much as you guys think I'm a Mahomes hater, there is no comparison between Mahomes and Hurts. This is not a comparison.
I'm not saying there's a comparison.
Hurts isn't even a top 10 active quarterback,
Oh, yeah.
where Mahomes is the number one quarterback in the league.
Behind Sam Darnold. Anyway,
And
So
Josh
this is what
Allen.
I know. This is what we
Burrow.
know. This is what we know. Josh Allen can beat him in the regular season.
Well, he pulled it off.
He can't beat him in the playoffs.
Well, we
Oh.
don't know that.
Guess what? Mahomes went to your house last year.
My
He beat
house.
you.
no,
The
Buffalo.
Bills.
Oh.
He beat
Do you think
Allen in
he's
front of
worried?
Bill's mom.
Do you think
Yeah,
he's
Bill's
worried
mom.
about them coming to Kansas City?
No.
Nah.
You know what I am worried for
And
them,
that might
because
be his problem.
I think Vegas.
He
is
better not.
favoring
He better not
the Bills.
underestimate what he has to do this weekend.
No.
That's one guy that doesn't
What is the
underestimate
spread in that
any
one?
game.
1.5 Kansas City.
Yeah.
So
And that's
Yeah.
all home field
That's
advantage.
all.
Well, it started out at 2.5.
You give your 3
It
points.
started out 2.5. Now it's betting down to 1.5 because a lot of money's getting dropped on Buffalo. Now that last minute push with the big money guys will actually decide where that ends on that money line. I'm assuming that Kansas City is going to pull a lot of late money. So
Dave
we'll be back
Portnoy,
at 2.
He's the president of Barstool Sports and owner. He
Yeah.
bet $1 million on the Bills to win the Super Bowl after the games last weekend.
And
It pays out-
he's won a lot of those.
It pays out $7 million.
All I'm saying
$6 million, I think.
6
is
million would be 7 million.
this is the
Yeah.
Bills' year.
No, it's not.
I've been saying that all along.
No, you said the Bengals.
Yeah.
Look how that ended up.
Then you went to the Texans for a couple weeks after that.
No, I called them my dark horse
You
every
know what
time.
the saddest thing is, though? I remember that first episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was
because-
Bengals.
I think there was 3 of us, me included, that thought Dallas, at the beginning of this year, was going to make a run. I think you said, yeah, it's Dallas's division this year, and
Yep.
look where we're at. We just never know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got 2 NFC East teams in the championship game.
Go figure.
Dallas is barely better than
Yeah.
the Giants this year. It's
I
disgusting.
mean-
It's not disgusting. They're right where they should be.
I mean, let's just flip this around. Imagine if it was Dallas and the Giants in the NFC Championship
Yeah.
game. We'd have to go back 30 years.
Oh,
Did you know that Daniels wasn't even born the last time the Cowboys were in the NFC Championship game?
I barely was.
I know.
I wasn't.
Yeah, you were close.
y'all killing me.
Derek was in the delivery.
He was watching the game.
Yeah, I was. Anyway, so
When was the last time Washington was there? It was in the 80s, wasn't it?
No, 1991.
91.
91.
Yep.
Mark Rippon and
Mark Rippon.
the Redskins defeated the
Wasn't that Joe
Bills in the
Gibbs?
Super Bowl.
Joe Gibbs was their coach at the time, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep, Joe Gibbs.
They're the ones with the famous leg break, though, right?
Theismann.
Theismann,
Yeah, but that was back
That was-
in the early 80s.
early 80s.
Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Theismann had 2 Super
I was watching
Bowls.
that game, and they kept replaying it and replaying it and replaying it. Oh my God! I mean, that leg was just. It was horrible.
See, Joe Gibbs has won 3 Super Bowls, 3 different quarterbacks. He had Theismann when they defeated the Dolphins in the early 80s. Then he had Doug Williams when they beat the Broncos. And then Mark Rippon led him over the Bills that year. So,
No, talking about the Bills, I seen a really funny meme that's true, but they said Josh Allen's 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Surely a team like that couldn't lose 4 consecutive really important
Oh,
games.
it's the Bills, man.
Surely a team like that, obviously it was sarcastic, pointing to their 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses, but
yeah. And
if there's a team that can do it, it's them.
if you want to know something, the Bills, every single Super Bowl loss was to an NFC East team. The Giants beat them, then the Redskins, then the Cowboys twice.
So you're saying the Bills need to win,
Well,
and then
Then
the
I don't
Eagles
know.
win.
Will the
And the
Commanders
Eagles
beat
win.
'em?
And the Eagles win.
So the Commanders can beat them?
Commanders aren't winning. So I'm just saying.
Well, let's get on to that part. Presley, your pick, NFC Championship game, Lincoln Financial Field, the upstart Washington Commanders taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with the Eagles, but Commanders will cover 6.5. It's going to be a field goal game, I think.
Okay, Braden?
Kind of same as Presley. I will root heavy for Washington. I will root hard for 2 teams because I can, but I think the Eagles will pull it off and win.
We're not even going to ask Brian this question.
Fly,
because
Eagles,
you
fly!
Go with
You
Washington.
said that about how most Philly guys do. Fly, Eagle, fly!
That was great.
Who are you going with?
I'm going with Washington.
I'm taking the Commanders in the upset by 4 points in this game. I think it's going to come down to Jalen Hurts' ineffectiveness to run the ball, which is going to hamper Saquon. I think Saquon will still go for over 100 yards in the game, but I see Washington's just a team of destiny right now.
They're the Cinderella.
Next week when we talk about this, Jeff and I will be over here going, well, so it would be the Eagles versus so-and-so in the Super Bowl.
Funny that you said that, you think Saquon will go over 100, right?
Yeah.
No.
That's usually a
We're
really
going to be over
good
here
game for
saying
running
the
back.
Commanders don't have a
Over
chance against Buffalo.
Vegas set the line. It's the highest line for running back in history at over under 110 yards. I don't know what to do with that. Usually I would hammer the unders.
Oh yeah.
hammer
Like,
that.
And Jeff is internally
This is a
crying
weird
knowing
year
that he
for-
was on the Giants.
In that, I would wait and see the injury
Nah.
report on Jalen.
Yeah.
I really
Because
would.
that is the
Yeah.
highest one ever for a running back in the postseason in NFL history.
Well, then Sunday evening, live on CBS Paramount Presley, we're going to go to Kansas City, Missouri, GEH Field, and it's going to be rocking. Chiefs and Bills. Who do you got?
I got the Bills. I think Josh finally gets one. I really hope.
Bills Mafia, baby!
I really hope he does. And,
Right.
and like, I have nothing against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I really don't. But they are my new Patriots. Same thing. If any of our teams were good for so long, people would start to hate you.
Like the
I
Cowboys.
want somebody else to win the damn thing. I'm tired of hearing about them. And seeing all the new ones pop up every year that weren't before or didn't even know what football
Right.
was.
All the Swifties.
All the Swifties.
I got the Chiefs.
Throw
Josh
up a
Allen.
Taylor Swift graphic.
Throw up the yeah.
Yeah.
Josh Allen. I said it last week, the Baltimore-Buffalo game. I said this is the game of the choking quarterbacks in the playoffs. And I just think he continues the trend and Chiefs win.
Brian?
Kansas City. It's a rematch of Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Bills Mafia gets their win.
You think it's going to be the Bills, Commanders?
I'm hoping for the Bills Commanders. Bills Eagles.
Beginning of the year, I said history would be made this year in the NFL with the three-peat. I'm sticking with it. You're going into Kansas City in the playoffs, late January. Mahomes has been there. He's done that. He knows how to win there. That defense is rock solid. I think the Chiefs take it by 5.
Wow.
I think we should initiate a drinking game. Every time Mahomes gets tackled and gets up really quick and goes like this, we drink.
I'm in.
be a drunk
Hey, you
fest.
should have to take a double shot every time
No, it
that,
can't do that.
that they
There'll be
don't
10 of them by
that they're
the
about
first
to get a that they're going for a first down and a penalty gives it to them.
And you know what? It's the spotlight thing. Once they know they have that spot, Brady did the same thing.
Yeah.
LeBron James does the same thing.
Yeah.
No,
Once you have
LeBron James is a flopper. Let's not bring him into this. There's not a person.
No, he is.
There's
So
not a
is
person
Mahomes.
out
So is
here
Mahomes.
that compares to the shit that he
And
gets.
so is Mahomes.
No,
And so
No.
is Brady.
as much as
Where's
I,
MJ?
as much as no.
Excuse me?
Oh my God.
I did show Jeff a video one time talking about MJ, of all of MJ's flops.
Yeah.
Because every player's flopped forever.
No.
And it was like a 40-minute video. Yeah, does LeBron do it more? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he does.
But
But you
it
know,
was a whole video, and he was like watching it, and he's like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
it's like we talked about though. Mahomes, if he's running to the sidelines, he's going to go as long as he can inbounds
He's proved
and then
it.
try to get out.
He proved it last week.
Yeah, absolutely.
He stopped.
He stopped and
He should have
did,
got his
and it
fucking
flopped.
face blown off.
And
They
it
just-
flopped.
They gave him a little shrug,
Yeah.
and he gets up and like looking around like,
Did I get the penalty? And
Yeah.
oh yeah,
But
he did. He
Where
did.
did that
No, he did
start?
not get
No,
it
not that
started
one.
with Brady. It all
did.
started with Tom Brady. And it
Once-
has evolved. Like we talked about, it's evolved into a thing. Lamar Jackson,
yeah.
Josh Allen, all
Once
of those
you have that
quarterbacks.
spotlight around you,
Yeah.
100%. I have
And
a
I
trivia
mean,
question for you, though.
it's not.
before we
It's
end.
smart football,
No.
Okay.
honestly.
1999 Super Bowl.
1999?
I think it was 99. I should have. Yeah, it's 99.
99. Now, are we talking the 99 season into 2000 or the 98 season into
you got me too
99?
hard. I don't remember.
So
He's talking the
99
'99 season.
99 would have been Kurt Warner leading the Rams over the Tennessee Titans.
Absolutely.
Kevin
What a-
Dyson came up 1 yard
What,
short.
what a great game that was.
But
That was
Tennessee
crazy.
shouldn't have been there anyway because the miracle, the Nashville Miracle should have never happened because it was a forward pass to Frank
Yeah.
Wycheck.
Was not.
And they beat the Buffalo Bills in that game, by the way.
Yes, it did.
Now, the next year after that was the Baltimore Ravens defeating the New York Giants
Yep.
in a thrashing of
Yes.
the ages, which we have never seen anything like that before. And the Giants were led by Kerry Collins, a
Yeah.
Penn State graduate.
Baltimore
and
is led by the greatest
Trent
defense
Dilfer.
ever put on the field.
And the worst
The
quarterback to ever win a
defense,
Super Bowl.
the best defensive unit ever to play in the
So,
NFL.
were you talking about one of those two?
And the
No,
murderer,
because I have
Ray
my ear on
Lewis.
now. When I went home to see my stepdad, he said that he had a. I can't remember the year. It was the year Washington played the Bills. I thought it was 98.
That was
maybe?
1991.
91.
91 season into 92.
That's what I was supposed to say, but
Man,
I messed up and said.
You're the quizzing, man. You got to know the answers.
And that's when
He
Mark,
still gave me an answer.
That's when Mark Rippon defeated the Buffalo Bills, their second of the 4 losses in a row.
Yeah.
And that game was played up in the Metrodome, and it was the first Super Bowl ever played where instant replay was used.
Good to know.
And there you go.
There you go. Good to know.
And now the rest of the story.
There you go,
with
Brian.
Derek Long.
Now, real quick before we go, I got a question for you guys. 3 players. Who deserves the MVP this year? Is it Lamar Jackson? Is it Josh Allen? Or is it Saquon? I used to play for the Giants. Now I'm on an NFL team. Barkley.
Such a long middle name, but it works.
Yeah, it is.
It fits.
Presley, what's your
for
thought
me,
on that?
Oh man, for me, none of the above.
What?
Who's your MVP?
Joe Burrow.
Wow,
Joe Burrow.
he did a job
His
this
stats are
year.
better than all 3 of the guys that you just said. Besides Barkley, obviously.
Yeah.
Who I want to win it is Barkley, but he won't because he's a running back.
Josh Allen's gonna win
Josh
it.
Allen's gonna win, which I'm fine with too because he had an outstanding year.
The front runner in everybody's mind is Lamar, though.
Why?
He has better stats every way around.
Oh
against
God,
Josh.
he didn't
How
deserve
do
it.
you think
He didn't deserve it the last time he won it.
But no, I would give it to Burrow, but the reason he's not in there is because he didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
If he would have, he would probably be the front runner.
Well, if
Brayden?
Kansas City had played their last game, they would have.
I
And you
think
don't have to pick one of those 3. I'm just saying
Yeah.
the 3 front runners
who
right
I
now.
who I think will win, Josh Allen. Who I want to win, Saquon Barkley.
Okay. Brian? Well, we know this answer. AJ Brown. Anyway.
No, seriously, like Saquon, I will ring this loud and proud, the homer pick. He's had a season of the ages.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, no,
like he
I
deserves.
Yeah.
I agree. He should win it 10-1.
If it wasn't for
Give it to him,
Saquon, the
but
Eagles
yeah.
wouldn't be in the playoffs.
running backs don't
Screw
win.
Saquon Barkley. Josh Allen MVP.
Running backs will not ever win that award again.
No.
And
I'm thinking Baker Mayfield.
what?
It's better
I
than
don't know. I
Saquon
want to go
Barkley.
Homer. I'm the only one that hasn't got a homer tonight. But anyway.
Homer.
Honestly, Baker had a pretty dang good year.
I'm going to say,
Not that good.
honestly, like you said, if Saquon plays the last game of the year, which meant nothing to the Eagles, and they wanted to protect him, and he said fine, he breaks Dickerson's rushing record, albeit
absolutely.
with 1 extra game. But
You know what, though? Arguably, to that point, there was a game, I don't remember who they were playing, but he was
out in the 4th
He's-
quarter.
He sat out,
destroying it. And
Yes,
Nick Sirianni came up to him, and they had them both mic'd up. And he said, hey, you're really close to your best game ever.
Mhm.
In
He
your
said,
career.
"Sit me."
He said, no, let the young guys eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Had he ran for another 80 yards that game,
Yeah.
he might have got close to
That
the
was
damn
against
thing
the
in
Rams
6.
in the regular
in
season.
Yeah,
six
that was the
feet.
game they
Yeah.
played the Rams.
Yeah.
In the regular
Yeah, he
season.
might have got close in 16.
Yeah.
But he just,
He had 255 yards that
yeah,
game.
he could have
Yeah.
went over
So
300
the
easy.
thing is, I think Saquon does deserve it. I really do. You go for over 2,000. You sat out quite a few games. Josh Allen, if it goes to one of the 2 quarterbacks, I think Allen deserves it over Lamar
Yeah.
by
Absolutely.
far. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, I'm going to go with Saquon on this just because of that.
We've talked about the MVP before. What makes an MVP? Is it stats? Or if you remove them from that team, are they
What do
the
they
same?
mean?
When you remove
You
him
could
from the
argue
team.
all 3 of those players, and I would say Lamar's on the less of that.
Yeah.
They might be able to find a pocket passer or somebody
But then
else that can.
you could go
play
through
better.
a lot of that too, because you could take Mahomes off that Chiefs team, put Carson Wentz in there, and they're going to get 38-0 by the Broncos.
Yeah.
But Mahomes isn't in the MVP race because he didn't put the stats up this year.
No,
Yeah.
So why doesn't he put up the stats? Because the Chiefs relied on their defense, like Jeff said earlier,
they do.
and they relied on that running game very heavily this year with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
So-
One thing common with all 4 of these teams, though, what do we have? A mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
I think that's you
And
have to
they're-
do it now.
Those 4 are the top 4 in fourth down percentage.
All
of
the-
these 4 teams.
All those pocket passing quarterbacks are going to go away as we know them. They're going to have to be able to run.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
Yes,
Name one that's made it recently.
Okay, pocket passer, pocket passer,
No.
pocket passer.
But they can run.
They're
They
running.
No.
can run,
No, they
but
have
that's
to
not
have
their
both.
thing.
They're not
Right.
a
They,
Brady.
they,
have
they are
to
not
have
going to
both.
do a Jalen Hurts, a Lamar Jackson. They have not proved they can win the big ones
No.
because they're gimmick quarterbacks that don't make plays when it matters.
But what Presley's saying is
Yeah.
gone. Gone are the days of your Brady's, your Mannings.
Of
your
your-
I disagree.
I think so.
I disagree.
Well,
do you
Joe
disagree?
Burrow's a pocket passer, and
He
you
can
just
run,
said,
He
yeah,
can
but
run. He had a lot of rushing yards this year.
he's
Now, Burrow's a pocket passer that uses his legs only when he has to.
Where's he at right now?
Patrick Mahomes is a pocket passer that uses
Mahomes
his
is
legs
not a
when
pocket-
he has to.
Right.
And he uses his legs to extend the play. He doesn't go downfield unless he absolutely has
But
to.
how often did you
But
see
he's a
Marino
mobile
or
quarterback.
Manning
The
run?
12,
That's what he's
30,
saying.
yeah, the
Guys
12,
like that.
30 plus
Yeah.
yard runs he had this year. We
You know,
disagree with
Joe
you.
Montana ran, but he wasn't. He was kind of like Mahomes.
Yeah.
He extended plays. Steve Young, running quarterback. Steve Young, if he didn't see anybody open in the first
No, I will.
read, he
I'll
was
say
gone.
Mahomes is the least of the running
Yeah.
out of these.
Yeah.
But if he does and he gets loose,
can run.
he's fast as hell.
He's
Yeah.
won
He
games with his
outruns.
legs.
He outruns corners.
He's
Here's
sneaky
the thing though
fast.
too.
Yeah.
Going back to the MVP, you take rushing touchdowns out of Josh Allen's hands. He has significantly less touchdowns than all these guys
Oh,
in
yeah.
the MVP race.
if Josh
You
Allen
can't say
could
he can't run the ball.
Okay,
he
but
has
he
to.
can't.
That's the biggest
He'd
part.
be
That's not the
screwed.
biggest. Yeah, a third of his touchdowns be gone.
Okay,
Close
but-
to half.
But
Yeah.
here's the other thing. Saquon Barkley, how many touchdowns would he have this year if the Philadelphia Eagles
But they
didn't
didn't
run
do the
tush
tush
push
push.
down on the goal
That's
line
very
with
true.
Jalen
He would have a
Hurts?
Or they
lot.
just-
How many
of
touchdowns did he steal from Saquon this year?
A lot.
How many? I saw the stat. It was like a stupid amount of times he's gotten down to the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
the tush push.
Yeah.
And that's why Jalen Hurts is one of the top.
How do they do that in Philadelphia?
And that's why Cam Jurgens is
Tush
hurt.
push?
And that's
The
why
whole
Cam
fist?
Jurgens.
That,
That's why
yeah, that'd
Cam.
get me across
That's
the
why
goal
Cam
line,
is
too.
hurt
You've
right
seen
now.
the picture.
The whole fist, that'd get me 1 yard too, I guarantee you.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially with Barkley coming up.
I'll
behind
roll
you.
over Chris Jones if I got a fist inside me.
All right, I think we're taking this a little bit too far.
There's not kids watching, probably.
We want to thank you once again for tuning in to another edition of Tailgate Talk. We are so glad you spent the time with us here. Hit that like button.
And we want to do special thanks to Wade DeCoding and Justin Sash and Ryan Rademacher for actually putting some comments in. I hope we covered all your questions. And no, Wade, I'm not wrong.
Yes, he is, Wade.
He's always
I'll agree with you, Wade, on this
Yeah,
one.
he's
okay,
wrong.
buddy?
Thanks, Wade.
Jeff
But-
thinks when he talks loud that it makes him right.
He's like Stephen A. Smith.
But anyway, please go to YouTube. Find our YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button. You can go back and watch previous some of these previous episodes on there as well. But just hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get as many followers as we can on that, subscribers on that one. Hit that like button here on Facebook. Tune in next week on Thursday evening, 1 week from tonight. We're going to break down the Chiefs Commanders Super Bowl preview. Oh, sorry, guys. We're going to break down the Super Bowl preview next week. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the other awards that should be handed out this year in the NFL, including Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. And we'll do that all next week on Tailgate Talk. You've been watching Tailgate Talk, and
We know sports.